Hey everyone, and welcome back to Stand By Go, the theater podcast from Asheville, North Carolina. Today I'm sitting down with a good friend of mine, a local actress, Audrey Wells.
Hello.
Audrey, which is what I really
Hello.
call you. I very rarely actually call you
Every
Audrey.
time.
It's always Audrey. I don't know why.
Yeah, you gotta have an accent with it. It's not real otherwise.
Like why? I mean, I don't know why I'm asking you why I do that, but I guess it's just fun to do.
Well, it's also I always think of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, and like that's how she talks. She talks like this. She's got Audrey. That's the gist of it.
Maybe that's at least it's that and not like Audrey. I can't get deep. I can't get deep enough for like Audrey, like the Audrey 2. Feed me, Seymour. You know?
Man, that would be funny. You should do like a rendition of it as like low as you can go, even if you can't get down to like the full octave.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
How have you been?
I've been good. It's been very, very strange doing life, in the midst of COVID. It's also been super strange because we're used to having theater as an outlet, and like now we don't really have that. So it's just kind of like watching musicals like Hamilton and binge watching Broadway HD and stuff like that, just to kind of get my fix until we can get back into the theater.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't think I'd be doing anything. No, we would have just started rehearsals. Yeah, we would have just started rehearsals like last week.
No, which is really sad. I was so excited about that show, but fingers crossed for next
year. Amen. Yeah, I was too, because I realized it was actually my first musical I was actually in.
Wait, what? You were just in The Wizard of Oz. You're talking about this year?
No. Like it was the first show I ever did. It was like the first musical.
You mean like way back? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm back.
I did 2 shows in elementary school, and they were technically musicals, but the way it was like it was everybody, like all the students and like different art stuff. So like we would act up until the song, and then the chorus would get up and sing.
I did that. I did stuff like that too. I did it we did that with my church. I was very active in our church musicals when I was growing up, and it was like we would always do. It literally felt like little like vignettes, and then like everybody stood still and straight and sang out in front of everyone. So like the children's ministry director could like give you the little motions and like sing the words to you like from the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 years. And then I didn't do anything in middle school because I thought it was too cool for school to do theater. And then like my first show I ever did that was a musical was Joseph.
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
Yeah, I sang, I don't remember who I was, like which brother I was, but I sang There's One More Angel in Heaven.
Oh, what a good song.
Yeah. I think I got it because I was one of the few people who can whistle on tune.
Huh?
So I think I got it because I was one of the few people who can whistle on tune.
I feel that. Yeah. Whistling on tune is actually surprisingly a lot harder than you would imagine it would be.
It's on my resume. It's on my acting resume.
Wow.
And whistle on tune.
Anything you can add to that theater resume.
Mm-hmm. It helps for that. It helps for Spam-A-Lot if you want to be Percy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Wow. Very versatile.
Yeah. Right. So before we get too far into the interview, I just have to tell everybody who's listening, Audrey and I have been friends since Footloose, which was not this January, but the January before. So like a year and a half, I guess. And we have been friends despite one very big like disparity in what we enjoy.
Man. And I'm even wearing a shirt to talk about it.
And it took me a month before I like broke it to her that I was a Duke fan. And but it's okay. I'm not as obnoxious of a Duke fan as I used to be.
And you're also probably one of the least obnoxious Duke fans I've ever met in my life. Like, I know some obnoxious Duke fans. Like, one of my dad's best friends will literally, like, every single time that, like, Duke plays Carolina and, like, Carolina loses, he'll send me like a Carolina, like some version of Carolina Sucks, like in a text message. Like, we won't talk any other time except for when Carolina loses to Duke. So I feel that.
And so, but like I always give like a little bit of a pass to those who went to Carolina. Like, it's, so like you went to Carolina, you played in the marching band, so you've been out in this heat a lot, being in the marching band. Actually, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, so I'm just putting that out there, that you are able to be good friends with a Carolina fan if you're a Duke fan, and vice versa. So
it's possible, people. I'm here to tell you.
Although, no, the only person who ever sends me anything that's like Duke disparaging is Dylan. He'll be like, "Oh, this is hilarious."
He's got to defend me. He's got to defend his girlfriend's honor. That's just what you do.
It's a good man. Friend of the podcast, Dylan Giles, first episode. Had to get on there.
So listen now if you haven't already.
Absolutely. And so also one more thing is he still in the room? Is Cooper still in the room?
Yes, Cooper is still in the room.
Cooper.
Wait, we gotta get Cooper in here.
Chilling out?
Ah! There he is.
Cooper. Okay. For those of you who are not watching, who are listening, this is Audrey's dog, Cooper, who is the coolest, cutest dog out there.
He's a cute little tricolored beagle. He's almost 4. His birthday's this month.
Oh, wow.
He's my little old man.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm beeping everywhere.
That is okay. That is okay. Yeah, sometimes Zoom likes to beep and computers like to beep, but we just keep on going.
Keep on keeping on.
So let's actually get into an interview. How about that? So why don't you tell me a little bit about you and like how you got into theater?
Okay. So I've always been kind of like in the creative vein, kind of, so to speak. I started out, like I said earlier, doing theater and like music with my church when I was very, very young, just kind of getting my feet wet with that. I did chorus when I was in elementary school. We had like a advanced kind of chorus that our music teacher like picked people out to do stuff. And then when I got into middle school, I didn't really do theater. Because I became a band nerd, which you said we're going to talk about. So I'll just keep it to that. I played the flute and the piccolo. And I played the flute in middle school. And then in high school, I played the oboe. And then in college, I played the piccolo in the marching band. And then I got to be drum major both in high school and in college. But when I was in high school, my first musical experience ever actually was I got to be Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, which was super cool for me. It was like, I saw that they were doing The Wizard of Oz, and when I was growing up, it was like one of my favorite movies. And I had never done theater at my school before, but I was like, it's second semester of my senior year. I was like, I've got to try. I mean, I've got to at least audition for it. And I got it, which I was incredibly shocked. But I had the great fortune of working with our high school director, who is now the artistic director at the Flat Rock Playhouse. So we were able to we got Flat Rock Playhouse set to help us build our sets. They helped us get our costumes. And it was a really high quality production for our very small high school in Hendersonville. And then, like I said, I did band in college. I dabbled a little bit in theater, never really got anywhere with that though. And then when I graduated from college, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I was living there, I was kind of like a fish out of water in a way. Like, I didn't have a lot of people that I knew there. And, there's not really many avenues for people to do band once you graduate from college, unless you want to join a community symphony or something like that. And honestly, I'm not that good at an instrument for me to be able to do that. So I was like, well, I might as well just give this a try again. And so I auditioned for The Nerd, which is I can't remember what the playwright's name is, but it's an old comedy from the 80s. And I got cast. I mean, it was the first show that I'd auditioned for in years, and I got cast as Clelia Waldegrave. My claim to fame in that show was I broke our prop table, because there was one point in the show. Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's one point in the show where so my character was like this very, very high strung woman she was like a special education teacher. So she dealt with kids all day, and then she came home and she had this terror of a child that was like that literally just like ran around, kicked people, like ran away, like ran on and off stage, completely crazy. Her husband was like a very rude kind of like corporate man. So she's like this very uptight woman that like keeps it all in this little box. And so there's this one point in the show where she where she just loses it. Like she goes crazy. And one of the characters hands her a saucer plate, and she literally pulls a hammer out of her purse and like crushes up the saucer plate with a hammer on the table. And there was one night where I was just like super into it, and I literally like hit the table so hard that it like broke the underside of the table. And our director came up to me afterward because it was actually her table and I didn't know that. And she was like, "Well, you get the good actor award because you were so into your character that you broke my coffee table." And I was like, "I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry."
So it was a table like it wasn't the prop table.
It was a table that was on stage.
Oh, okay. That's still impressive.
As a prop, yes. Gotcha. It was like there was like a huge hole in it. We used it for the rest of the show. I mean, we didn't have another table, so we had to. But yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was probably one of my favorite experiences of that show. The rest of the people the rest of the cast like never let me live that one down. So that
as they shouldn't.
I mean, anyway. So after that I continued doing theater because I was like, this is fun. I might as well keep this up. So the next show that I did was with the Davidson Community Players, which is so it's just outside of Charlotte where Davidson College is, like that little town. They've got a really, really cute little theater and a really nice company there. And I got to do Steel Magnolias, which for most Southern women, that's like a dream show. Just because that movie is like, the movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's got, Sally Field, Julia Roberts, who else is in it? There's Olympia Dukakis, and just so many wonderful people. And so I grew up watching that movie. I could probably quote that movie to you like word for word. I've seen it so many times.
I know you can, because I was there. I think was it the first time Dylan had seen the movie or something like that?
It was the first time that Dylan had seen
the movie.
So
it was like you, me, Dylan. Yes. We went out to eat. I remember this now. It was after a rehearsal. We went out to eat.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've never seen that movie. You're like, we're going to watch it now. And so
for someone who has like 1,500 VHSs in his collection, like, how have you never seen one of the most classic Southern films that's ever been created?
It's very fun to watch you watch that movie.
It's so good. Well, I mean,
you say all the lines, you cackle and laugh like it's the first time you've ever heard them, and then you bawl your eyes out. And it's like a roller coaster just watching you watch that movie.
Well, okay, so that show is so special for so many reasons, right? Because like if you take a look at the show itself, so the movie that I love so much is based on the play. And the play was written by this man. So first of all, the play is all females. So first of all, go women. It's one of the very few like female powered driven shows. And it's like each one of these women is it's like a very strong woman that's in a different chapter of her life, going through different things. So for me, on that level, it's very easy to like it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, you can find someone to relate to in that show. So that's really special to me. What's even more special is the man who wrote it. His name is Robert Harling, and he wrote it as a tribute to his sister and as a way to kind of process his grief for losing his sister. So his sister actually died from complications due to diabetes. And he wrote this play in the 10 days after she passed away. And it was really cool because like I was kind of skeptical when I found out that it was written by a man. But then like I listened to some of his interviews and read some of his interviews. And essentially like he was kind of a fly on the wall witnessing like how each person in his family like was processing the grief of the loss of his sister. And he said that one thing that was really striking and kind of inspired him was that at the wake after the funeral, there were like 2 rooms of people, right? And one room was the men and the other room was the women. And here in the room with the men, everyone was just kind of like, you know, somber and sad and didn't really know how to like talk to one another or, you know, really talk about her or anything like that. But then you went into the kitchen and like all of the women were just laughing and telling stories and like just, you know, kind of being the people that, you know, his sister would have wanted them to be. But then when a man came in the room, it completely changed, right? And so like for me, it's so cool that he was able to like take that and like, you know, really build a character out of his sister and his mom and like the women in the town that kind of like helped them get through that. And it's just, it was so special. And the women that I did it with were like such an amazing group of people. Like I still talk to them and still keep up with them to this day. I mean, it's just, there's also, it's funny because there's a curse with this, with Steel Magnolias, because the way that it is like all of the women are supposed to be like very close knit. But what ends up happening a lot of times in that show is that like, you know, someone doesn't learn their lines or someone doesn't do this. And like, you know, they end up hating each other by the time the show is over. Like that's a curse that like a well-known curse for Snow Magnolias, but like that just didn't happen with us. You know, like we did have our struggles. I mean, any show you have, you're going to have a couple rough rehearsals, but like, I can honestly say that like after doing that show, I still love all of those women that I did the show with. And it's just so special. It's probably one of my favorite shows I've ever done. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, no, it's really cool. I didn't know the history of, first of all, I didn't know that the movie was based on the play. I didn't know which one came first. But I didn't, yeah, so I'm pretty sure, don't yell at me, I'm pretty sure when I watched it with you was the first time I'd seen it all the way through.
I mean, it's like, I guess I have to temper my expectations, I guess, when it comes to men, especially because like, and I don't want to say that, but like, it's a more feminine movie. And so like, I think everyone should see it. There are valuable things for both men and women in it. However, you're more likely, a woman is more likely to have seen it than a man in a lot of cases. But I made you watch it and you enjoyed it. So that's what matters.
I did enjoy it. I liked the movie and I liked the show that was happening, you know, with you on the couch laughing and crying to that movie. So who were you again in that?
I was Shelby. So I was the sister. The one, so it was really fun. That show is so taxing in a lot of ways because like Shelby, she's the lead character, even she dies in the third act. That's not a spoiler. You had time to see it. She dies in the third act.
Yeah, you've had a little while to see the movie.
Yeah, there's been enough buffer time that like you should have seen it by now. But anyway, so she goes through like these like really high highs and these really low lows. And one thing that I will never forget is, so the way that this stage was set up in the theater that we were in is I was able to see everyone, like every single person, like from the stage, which is not normal. You're normally not able to see everyone. So I remember.
Yeah, and it's also not fun. I've
Gosh.
done
No.
I've done that. I've done that for a show.
Emotional. Okay, so there's this one moment where so in the second act of the play, Shelby, who was my character, she's trying to tell her mom that she's pregnant. And like Shelby has wanted nothing more than in her life than to, you know, be a mother and to like be pregnant and to like, have that going for her. And her mom, instead of being excited and joyful for her, like immediately starts to worry. She's like, you're diabetic. Do you know how dangerous it is? Do you know everything that could go wrong? And I will never forget this moment. So the way that it was staged, the woman playing my mother was right here. And then I came to her, she was like sitting in a chair, like right here. And so like I came to sit by her right here. But then when I looked up to like look out instead of looking at her, because I was like, it was like I was emotional and trying to come up with words. My mother was sitting in my eye line, my eyesight. And there's this one line, and like my mom is crying, mind you. My mother is crying. And there was this one line that always sticks with me. And Shelby's talking about how badly she needs her mother's support and how badly she wants her mother to like be happy for her and to help her through this. And she says, I'd rather have 15 minutes of wonderful than a lifetime of nothing special. And I remember I said that line and my mom like sobbed. Like I could see her openly weeping and I'm like, you got to stay in character, Audrey. You got to stay in character. Don't break. You can't do it. And then after that, my dad came up to me after that show and was like, I'm not going to lie, Audrey, it was really rough. Even though you didn't die on stage, it was really rough to like know that like your character died and that you didn't come back. And I was like, I know, Dad. And then he was like trying not to be teary, and he was like, I'm proud of you, sweetie. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't. I don't have the capacity. So,
That's great. That is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that show on stage. I think it, now that I know, it'd be an interesting one to see.
Oh my gosh. The whole thing takes place in the salon too. So like, you know how when we watch the movie, there's like the difference between, so like the movie takes place in the town, right? And it includes the men. The play literally only takes place in the salon. And so like every act, there's like a different, like there are a different set of decorations to show like the passage of time or like what season it is and stuff like that. Oh, it's so good. I would love to do that show again. Like I would honestly love to like throughout my life like be every single character in that show. Mm-hmm. That would be so fun to me.
Yeah. I think there's some shows that I would enjoy. Well, most of the shows that I would do again, I would be somebody else. Like of course, like if I were to do Charlie Brown again, I'd want to be Charlie Brown. But like I want to do Fiddler again, but I want to be Tevye. I want to do, like, I would do Hello Dolly again, but I would be Vander Gelder.
You did Hello Dolly? I didn't know that.
Oh, this is back in my hometown. It's back in Fayetteville.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I did like 6 years in a row where I did like their musical, and it was like Fiddler, it was Fiddler, Music Man, Guys and Dolls, Hello Dolly, then Annie Get Your Gun. So whatever that is, that's how many musicals I did there.
Good show. I would love to do Annie Get Your Gun.
Yeah. I was Buffalo Bill Cody, which is like the
I love that.
Which is like the one time that my typecast has worked in my favor. Are you typecast? I'm typecast. I'm typecast in my old theater. Not so much anymore, but like that theater that I did, I was the announcer guy. I was the big announcer guy.
I don't think that I'm super typecast. I know like the shows that I've been in at ACT, I've like played an older woman in both of them. I think that that's mostly because I don't act like I'm a young 20 something, I guess. But I mean, then when I went and did Arsenic and Old Lace at Heart, I got cast with someone in my age group. So, I mean, I don't think that I'm super typecast. I don't know that anyone would ever cast me as a villain. I've thought about that. Like, I don't think that people could see me as a villain. And so I don't think that it will happen for me.
Do you take that as a compliment, or
that I couldn't play a villain?
Just that you like look so nice and
I mean, I guess like, yeah, it's nice. It's cool. However, I mean, like, there are some villain roles that I would like love to do, like Ursula. What a good villain. Yeah. Also The Witch and Into the Woods, like also an incredible villain with like a really good story arc. So I mean, there are villains that I would like to play, but like I'm not mad that people think that I look nice. Like
like I don't know how I would take it if somebody came up to me and was like, "You look like a bad guy." Like
no, but there are people like my door. Oh, sorry. Cooper just like slammed the door shut with his nose. I'm gonna let him out real quick.
That's fine. Like, do your thing.
Okay, but back to the question. I think that there like are people who like look like a villain. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I'm trying to think of like a good actor example. Oh man. My mind is completely okay. No, the guy that played. Did you watch Sherlock? Like the British Sherlock?
Yeah, cut like a couple episodes, but
Okay, so the guy that played the villain in that, Tom Moriarty, like he looks like a villain. Like there are people that like consistently get cast in, but like who is another one that gets cast? Like Heath Ledger got cast as a couple villains. Like he looks like Michael Keaton is not a great example because he's played both. Like he's played heroes and villains, but like lately he's gotten cast as a lot of villains. And so
yeah.
like
Yeah, I watched two of the three of those Batman movies, but the second one where Heath Ledger was the Joker, and he
yes.
was just so good as that role.
Yeah, dude. Okay, if I there was a thing going around on Facebook for a while where there was like if you could bring back any two actors, like who would it be? And 100% Robin Williams and Heath Ledger, man. That's it. That's the two. I would bring them back. Heath Ledger was such a loss for him to be so young. He was so talented and had so much going for him. I miss him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's one of those like warnings, like don't be such a method actor.
Oh
that
yeah,
was
I
that
feel
was
that.
his downfall.
Yeah.
Like
I
he
mean,
was
he just
really
got
good
so
in it, but yeah.
so terrified of the role that he created. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
so
that.
don't be so method that you can't get out of the character that you are.
Unless you're playing a nice character, I guess, then you can
Yeah,
you can do
be
it.
as nice
Bring
as
it
you can
right
all the time.
back.
No, I also would love to play some bad guys.
Who's like your top villain character, like that you want to play?
Stanley from Streetcar.
Oh man, is Stanley a villain though? He's kind of a villain. Okay, I could see that. Stanley's a good character.
Yeah,
All right.
he
Well, I mean,
he's
like no one in Streetcar is good. You know what I mean? Like none
yeah.
of the characters
Well,
are
the
good.
wife, the wife isn't bad,
She's all
is
right.
she?
She's got her own issues.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody does. Everybody has issues.
Everybody makes mistakes. Sorry, that's just funny.
um, no, I want to play a villain so well that I get booed when I come out for a curtain call. Like that is
See,
my
I feel
goal.
like that's like everyone's goal whilst playing a villain is
My
to
mom
get
does that. My mom will do it. If somebody plays a villain so well, she'll like applaud but boo at the same time. She'll be like, boo.
just like boo you. You're so good.
Yeah.
That was
And
like Paul did a really good job playing the villain when we did Hands on a Hard Body. Like
mhm.
I love Paul Gerber. Paul Gerber is a great fella, really kind, really sweet, love him to death. But man, when he was playing Benny, what a jerk, man. What a jerk. There were a couple, I remember my mom and dad saw the show the first time. And they were like, is that guy that plays Benny, is he actually nice? And I was like, yeah, he's like a super nice guy. Like I really like him a lot. And they were like, wow, he plays a bad guy like really well. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's odd. Like I feel like people who play bad guys are typically good, are like nice. Like going back to thinking of people I know who've played like
Yeah.
antagonists to shows, they're actually very nice. It's just they're also
Well, I
just
mean, it's probably
fantastic
also
actors.
like you can like as a nice person, you can channel what everything that you don't like when people do those things and you're like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
because if you're automatically not a nice person, then like you don't have the thought to be like, well, what do people not like when, or what do I not like when people do? Because they probably think
Mhm.
about like nice things that people do. I don't know.
Yeah. I would also love to play. While this guy is a bad guy, he's also very funny. But
Okay.
Captain Hook. I would
Oh,
love to
Captain Hook would be really
again,
fun. I think
again.
that
I
he's like a comedic relief role. He's a
Yeah, but
comedic
you
relief
also hate
person.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. That would be fun. Peter Pan would be a really fun role to play. However, I am like 5'9" and not small, so that would never happen for me. But I can dream.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure like one of my dream roles, as you know, is the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. And when I auditioned for it long time ago, the girl who was like, it was obvious that she was going to get Belle was my height.
Yeah.
she was my height in flats.
Oh,
And
nice. Yeah.
I'm just like, there's no way that I can be the Beast. Like, I had it vocally, I had it acting wise, but your Belle can't be taller than your Beast. And I was just like,
However, I have noticed, that is one thing that I've noticed. It's really hard being a tall person, a tall woman in theater, because like I'm the average height of like an American man. I literally looked it up the other day. Like the average height of an American man is 5'9".
mhm.
So like it's hard. Like I remember, so when my first show in Asheville, I did Snowbound, which was the Tom Godleski bluegrass Christmas show.
The first one or the second one?
The second one.
Okay.
So I got to play Sarah, and the fellow who got cast as, what is his name? Jack. I think the male's name is Jack. So John Ross, he was a really fun co-actor to act beside. He was 5'7". And I'm 5'9". So there was already like a discrepancy. And then our costumer put me in heels. So I was like 5'11" and he was like 5'7". And then there was this one time when he had like, then that like we like, okay, so like the character arc is that like we are so in love. We're stuck in this train station overnight because we're snowed in. And we sing this song about how like we're each other's favorite person. Blah. And then he's like, I can't wait anymore. Will you marry me? And like he proposes and I obviously say yes. And then we kiss and it's a whole thing. But so we had to like literally get used to like the height difference whilst kissing, because there was one time where like he went up and I didn't. And like I kissed his chin, and it was took place in the 50s, so I had like bright red lipstick on. Thank God it was a dress rehearsal, because like he had like this nice like red lipstick line like right there on his chin. And so like for the rest of the scene or the rest of the show, I was like, oh my gosh, we're so in love. Here, let me get that off your chin. Like that whole thing, like trying to get the red lipstick off. It was a nightmare. But anyway, yes, the perils of being tall in theater.
Yeah, my problem is that I am comedic relief height and not male love height. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm 5'10". Dylan's 5'10". I think we're the same height, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but like I've just like comedic relief. I mean, which is not the worst role ever. like
Comedic
the
roles are normally pretty good.
The like Josh Gads of the world. Like I would do anything Josh Gad has done.
You could be LeFou. Oh my god.
Yeah. Also, Gaston would be an amazing villain role.
Any villain could be gender bent, I would love to be Gaston. I think that Gaston is my favorite villain song in like all of Disney history. What a good song. I would love to be Gaston if we ever like just gender bent Beauty and the Beast, which would be a lot of money, so it probably will never happen, but I can dream.
No. Yeah. I didn't see a gender bent one, but I did see one where the height of Gaston and LeFou were switched. So Gaston, he was a really short but super like buff dude. Like he was a wrestler, like a built. Yeah. And the LeFou was like 6'2" and this little lanky kid.
Oh, that's incredible. Because that adds like hilarious. In my mind, that adds like that much more to Gaston's ego issue. Oh, that's incredible. I would have loved it.
And I think they still kept in the line where he says he's 6'3", which made it even funnier, because it's like he is just like this guy with a Napoleon complex of like, yeah, I'm 6'3". What are you gonna do about it? I was like, buddy, you're 5'8". And they're like, no, I'm 6'3", and I will beat your tail if you tell me I'm not.
Fight me about it. That's funny.
It was also one of the craziest thing I've ever seen, because they did the fight between Gaston and the Beast, and he literally, like, they blocked it for him to kick Gaston off the stage. it was about as high as ours is at ACT, and they did
Yeah.
one of those like monkey flip things where the beast was on his back and they kicked up and he went flying off the stage. But yeah, they had a mat and everything, but it was incredible. It was hilarious. Yeah, I can't think. I'll think of other villains, but like, yeah, I want to play a bad guy just once in my life.
Same.
Just once.
Even if it's, I could be like, that's what's fun about like, because I'm always like, I could be I've talked to Dylan about this. I'm like, I could be a convincing villain, Dylan. I can do it. I could be a villain. And he's
Does
like,
he just laugh at you about it?
Huh? No, he's like, I know you can. And I was like, that doesn't help me that you know. No one else knows. I go into existential crisis about it, but it's fine. Okay.
You still have time. You're in your young 20s.
I've got plenty of time.
Got nothing but time.
See, also there are a lot of cool, like that's another thing for women. Like a lot of the villains that are women are like older. So like I'm on my way to the sweet spot for that. So we'll see what happens in the future.
If I could write a musical, like if I had the ability to write a musical, I would write one with like a bunch of like villainous women.
Yeah, man, let's do it. We would need someone that can write music because I can't do that. But I could help you. Like, we could write a book. We could write the book for it. You know, we could write the script. We could make a plot, and then find someone that knows how to do music.
Yeah, well, let's just like call up Alex Lacamoire. I'm sure he has nothing to do.
I'm ready. Let's go. I'm sure he's got plenty of time.
I'm sure he will. He'll be fine. I'll get him on the podcast. We'll talk about it.
Let's just call Lin-Manuel. I'm sure that like I can just DM him on Twitter and like we'll get that going. Right.
Yeah. Well, I've already invited him to come to the podcast, so we'll see if that.
Oh, nice.
I mean,
awesome.
not like directly, like through the podcast. Maybe I should. Okay. But I mean, obviously, over the last 3 weeks, I've done a lot of Hamilton like research, and yesterday I watched a ton of I listened to a ton of like Lin-Manuel podcasts on Hamilcast, which is a really nice podcast if you haven't listened to it. But they were playing around. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, and the person who did the podcast, her husband and Lynn were just like hanging around, and they were listening to the Beastie Boys, and they were like, we should do like a Beastie Boys barbershop type stuff, like turn their music into barbershop style music. And then they joked around about having Alex Lacamoire like write the music.
Yeah.
And in the next episode, they played a clip of a video that Alex Lacamoire sent them of him working on a Beastie Boys barbershop stuff. Like while he was in London helping that cast.
That's great. I need to watch that.
It's an amazing podcast. It has like, it talks everything Hamilton, and you bring everybody comes on it. They've had episodes with, Lynn's cabinet, which is Lynn, Lacamoire, Thomas Kail, Alan Blankenbuehler. No, not Alan, Andy. I don't know how to say his last name, but the choreographer. Yeah. Yes. I have to start listening to those. So, all right. So we left off on doing that one show that you did in Charlotte with the ladies.
Oh yeah, so I did. So yeah, oh my gosh, I didn't even finish my theater journey. That's incredible.
So here's the road. We just did this. And now we're back.
Tangent turkey. We've done it. We're back now. So yeah, after I did Steel Magnolias, I moved back to Asheville. I started working for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is what I'm still doing now. And yeah, I was like, this theater thing's pretty cool. I might as well, keep that going. And so like I said, I did Snowbound. That was the first show that I did. I think I moved to Asheville in August, and then I auditioned for the show at the beginning of September. And then like, I've been doing theater ever since. I did Snowbound. Directly after that, I did Footloose, which is where I met John. And I met a lot of really, really cool theater people. It was really fun. And then I did, what is the next one? Oh, I did Hands on a Hard Body. That was fun. Hands on a Hard Body is like, I feel like I always have to explain Hands on a Hard Body because like, it's not very well known, and I think that like the name is like a misnomer in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Hands on a Hard Body is like there's this group of people. It's based on a real story. First of all, it's like a documentary musical because we watched the documentary and it is you should watch it. It's incredible. Anyway, so it's like there's this truck which we literally loaded in a truck onto the set at ACT. It was awesome. And so all of these people stand around this truck with their hands on it. The last person to take their hand off or the person who doesn't take their hand off. Everybody else has to fall off, and like the whole musical is about like, you know, like each of these people and their personal life stories and like their struggles that they're going through, and like each one of them falls off until the end when Dan Bechtold, sweet Dan Bechtold, I love him. I played
your husband.
My husband 2 times over. He was my husband in Footloose, and then we were husband and wife again in Hands on a Hard Body. I played his wife. So he played this guy named JD Drew, and JD is the one who ended up winning. And like the whole thing is like our marriage was struggling because like he was in the hospital, and like now that he's home, like I thought that he would want to spend all this time with me, and it feels like he doesn't. And so I sing this very lamenting country sad song called Alone With Me, and I storm off the stage, and I don't come back until he wins the truck, and he wins the truck. Our marriage is saved. Ta-da, we've done it. It's such a wonderful show. That's a really terrible explanation of the show, but that's the gist. Please go see it. Please watch the documentary. It's very much worth your time. Keala Settle was in the original Broadway cast.
So is Hunter Foster.
It was Hunter Foster. Yeah, Hunter Foster was the main villain guy. My friend Hawker played.
And Matthew Stern, who was episode 3 of Stand By Go, was the production stage manager.
Yes.
Or at least one of the stage managers for the Broadway show.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, cool. So take a listen to Hands on a Hard Body. It's super awesome. Also, listen to that episode that John was just talking about. You should do that. Also, okay, so we're not going to tangent turkey again. I'm determined.
It's okay.
So the next show after Hands on a Hard Body, I did Arsenic and Old Lace over at Hart Theater, which is over in Waynesville. Got a lot of good friends over there. I was Elaine Harper. And so if you don't know Arsenic and Old Lace, the gist of that one is there are these 2 old ladies that essentially like to poison old men with elderberry wine. And their nephew Mortimer finds out. And it's like this, and then there's also another like psychotic brother who likes to kill people. It sounds very dark and macabre, but it's a comedy. So this whole thing is just like, so my character is engaged to Mortimer, and she kind of comes in to break up the action in like both of the acts. And, you know, she almost gets kidnapped once. It's incredible. It was fun because it took place in the 40s. So like I got to victory roll my hair and wear bright lipstick and like do like and kind of play with makeup and costumes and stuff, and it was just a really, really good time. And then I took a little bit of a break, took a nice hiatus, as it were. And then I did Great Falls just right before COVID, which is a 2-person play. It was down in 35 Below at ACT. It was directed by Chandy Callentine, who is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human. Very, very talented director. And so it's a 2-person play. And the characters, I'm going to use the word eater because I have to. The characters' names are Bitch and Monkey Man. And the story is kind of like so Bitch, the female character, was me. And so the play begins with her going on a road trip with her former stepfather, who is Monkey Man. That was played by John Hall, who is another very great, talented local actor that I really enjoyed working with.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I worked with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Very, very talented actor. So the story is that, you know, Monkey Man cheated on my character's mother, and that relationship kind of broke up. But Monkey Man is trying to kind of like rekindle a relationship and kind of, find a way through this hard time that they've both been going through. You find out later that my character was sexually assaulted. And so it's kind of them both trying to deal with their own traumas and their own issues while also trying to rekindle a relationship. It's probably the most serious show I've ever done. And, you know, it got cut short because of the coronavirus, which is really sad. But I mean, it was really taxing, but it was really, I mean, it was really enjoyable. And I am really glad that I did it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I want to do a show that really stretches me one of these days. Like,
yeah, it's good. It's rough. I mean, it's hard.
Oh, yeah,
Like there were a couple of times like, so there's this one very poignant scene in the second act of this play where my character essentially like she lays out her assault, and I mean the language is very plain, and you know but like what was very hard for me as as myself was like reading the first time I read through that monologue, I cried. I mean, it was hard. It was really rough. And then as I continued to read it, it was really kind of hard to separate myself from the character, if that makes sense. Because like my character's way of processing trauma was essentially being pretty flippant about it. She's like, yeah, this happened and then this happened. And oh yeah, by the way, this happened too. And like, she's just kind of like trying to, you know, get it out there, let everyone know what's happened, but like kind of protect herself by separating herself from it. And like, that's not how I process things at all. And so like, it was interesting for me to like be able to kind of take myself out of the character, if that makes sense, and like actually be that other person, which like it was really the first time I've done that actually, which is I know really strange to say, but like my method of acting is like I've always tried to find a piece of the character that I relate to, right? And like then like take that piece of that character and then mold the rest of the character around that. So like you find common ground with your character, and then you go and you figure out who the character is. And like this is the first time that I didn't relate to my character. Like I didn't like there were times where I did, and like there were a few moments where I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I understand why she's doing it that way, but like I would not like I had to that was the first time I had to really separate myself and say, this is who the character is. This is who Audrey is. You can't act like you can't let your character be affected by who you are. And it was really hard, but it was really, really fun.
Yeah. And I think that like, that's a really great way to put that, of playing somebody completely opposite of who you are. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really want to play a villain. Like,
yeah,
just being somebody, because every show that I can think of that I've ever done, maybe except for one, I could see myself like that character is me. Like I think that's why I want to play things that stretch, like even down to like I know he's an animal, but like even down to the Cowardly Lion, like I think it's
their personality traits that match.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that I'm the Cowardly Lion. Like it's and almost every role that I've done, because like I said, I was typecast as the loud announcer guy. I've always been like the big loud guy who can just happen to fill a room with my voice. And you know, I one time played a preacher who was like physically disabled in some ways, and like he had like deformities and stuff like that. And obviously I don't have like physically I couldn't connect to that, but he was a preacher, and right. I'm a PK, but I was also been a youth minister, and I've done 3 sermons before. So like doing that, and that's the show in which I could see the entire audience, because they actually turned the house lights on during my sermons, which was quite interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, because the idea was that the plot of the play, it's now I won't be able to think of the actual place, but there's this place in California where it's like this town that has no laws, and it's not connected to any like city governance or any state governance or anything like that. And they're their own little community. And the idea was when I got up to preach, I was preaching to the community, and that the audience was part of that community that I was preaching to.
That's
So
cool. Yeah,
I wasn't just preaching to the other 5 actors on the stage. I was preaching to everybody who was there. And that theater's in a round, and we did it in a thrust. So I had people all the way out, like from here all the way in front of me. And so, I did the preacher thing where I would look and do this and stuff like that. But the first time they turned those house lights on and there were people watching, I was just like, what is going on? Yeah. So, but like, even that's probably been the one role that I've actually had to stretch myself at any point. And, but even part of that was me. So like, that's why I really want to play one of those like really evil villains, like that people just hate. Just once.
Bill,
like, I don't.
Bill Sykes, he's hated villains in musical theater, I think.
Yeah. All right. So say that again. You like glitched out on me a second.
Oh, I was gonna say you could be Bill Sykes, because Bill Sykes is one of the most hated villains in musical theater, I think.
Yeah. And now that I'm more of a baritone than I'm a tenor, I can definitely do more villain things, because they are usually more baritones and basses than they are.
They are lower. Yeah, for sure.
So, cool. So I think we are caught up to like the last show that you did, and then we talked about what we would be doing right now.
We're caught up. We've done it. I would be doing Joseph right now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, we would be Joseph. And you got cast as one of the narrators, right?
It's one of the narrators. Yeah, I was so excited. The narrators are like so the way that Mark Jones was going to be doing that one, and he had this vision of having 4 narrators instead of 1, which is what it's typically done as, so we could all be in like 3-part or 4-part harmony at any given time. And I was so excited. I'm like, my fingers are crossed. I'm hoping for next year, man. Because like, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Such a good show. So you mentioned it very briefly, but kind of explain like what you do for your 40-hour week, because you're not a professional actress. You don't do that to pay for the new house for the new house that you just moved into. So you have a your 40-hour week job. So tell us a little bit about like what that is and what you do in that role.
Sure. So I work for Explore Asheville, which is the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the city of Asheville, which for people who are not very well versed in tourism speak, which I assume is most people, I essentially work with the organization that helps bring tourists to Asheville. We kind of work to build economic vitality for Buncombe County by bringing overnight stays to the city, which has been really difficult considering we've been in the midst of a global pandemic. But typically, I work as a marketing and public relations assistant, which means that I work with the team that kind of works on our advertising, kind of builds out our content. So like if you go to exploreasheville.com, or you go to visit Asheville on Instagram or on Facebook or I think we have a Twitter. But like if you go to those, like I'm working on the team that helps run those. And then I also work, 50% of my job is with the marketing side, and then the other 50% is with the PR team, which means that like I get to work with travel writers and journalists that are either interested in coming to the destination or are working on a story about the destination. So, we help by, aiding their site visits when they're coming, making sure that they've got things to do, they have a place to stay, things like that. Or, we're providing them insight saying like, here are cool things to do in Asheville. Like, here are the amount of James Beard nominated chefs that we have. Like, here are the amount of breweries that we have in the city. And I also work on providing photos for them just so they can have something to accompany their story in that way.
That's really cool. So you work for the people that like Asheville locals don't like, because they don't like all the tourists.
I do work for the people that locals don't like. But it's okay. I mean, I understand, but like there are also a lot of really good benefits to tourism.
Oh, absolutely.
Which
Absolutely.
like one, like yeah, that's like one. I think the latest statistic that we came up with, or that we found via research, was 1 out of every 7 jobs is supported by tourism. I mean, the amount of money that is brought into our economy through tourism every year, not this year, obviously, because of the virus, but, in general, it's just tourism is one of the big economic drivers in Asheville. And so I'm really, really honored to work with a cool organization that just works to, kind of increase that economic vitality in any way we can.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mind the tourists because I know, like, I know what it brings to this area, but I'm also not from here. Like, I moved here like 6 years ago, so it's like,
I mean, I'm a townie. That's one thing that like I like to tell people is like it's super interesting. Like I was born in town over. Like I was born in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I grew up coming to Asheville. And so one thing that's been really, really great for me as a grown professional and grown adult is like seeing how much Asheville has changed and how much it's grown and like changed in so many positive ways from when I was young to now. Like when I was growing up, like we came downtown for maybe one restaurant in the French Broad Chocolate Lounge. But like now there are a plethora of restaurants that I have tried and loved, haven't tried but want to, and like there are restaurants for every kind of person or every kind of taste that you're interested in. And it's so cool. I
yeah,
mean, it's such a special place to be right now, I think.
yeah. I just don't go downtown very much. Like, the only times I go downtown is when I'm going to the theater, which is
Yeah.
luckily like on the outskirts of downtown,
Yes, it
but
makes parking a lot easier.
makes parking a lot easier. Um, and I just know the times not to go downtown. Like, any holiday weekend, don't go downtown. Like,
That's true. We're gonna have to
unless you're
change that
taking
though,
somebody.
John. You gotta get downtown, man. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
And I think this might surprise some people, I am not as extroverted as I come across as.
Oh, I'm not either, but
I'm not a
you
fan of
can make
being
it
part of
work.
crowds. I'm not a fan of being part of a crowd. You put me
I
in
feel
front of a
that.
crowd all day, every day, but I'm not a huge fan of being part of a crowd. But
I
really, a
feel it.
big thing is parking. And I have my parking tricks that I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm not going to let them steal it. But
Because you should keep those to yourself.
yeah, so I have my parking tricks, and I don't mind it. Like, I've never been somebody who's like, hey, like if a friend of mine's like, hey, let's go downtown. Let's go. I want to go to Dobra, or I want to go to whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. But if it's like, hey, what do you want to do? Very rarely am I like, let's go downtown.
Let's go downtown.
You know, like I'm not going to say that typically, but it is, if you haven't been to Asheville, anybody who's listening, if you haven't been to Asheville, make sure it is on your list of places to go.
Come visit us.
It's a
It's so
beautiful
fun.
place. Come during a show. There is so much theater especially in just downtown Asheville. There's so much theater, and so
Oh my
come
gosh,
catch a
yeah.
show with us. Catch a show at Diana Wortham. Catch a show with Different Strokes.
Post COVID, of course.
Yeah, not now. I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't get into our building. Like, I have a key. I have a key for the theater.
Use your room
That
to sit in the
as a stage
and just
manager, and it doesn't work. I think they changed all the locks so people like me want to try and get in, which was smart. I mean, I
that's
probably would have
funny.
tried to get in by now.
It was smart, but also still very sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's right here. It's right
Oh,
there.
you've got it ready to go.
Well, so I have two keychains. Like, I have a D ring that has like all my office keys, and then this sits on it. But when I don't need it, I just take it off, and it has my three important keys: my car key, my apartment key, and my theater key. That's all I need. Yeah, I can't wait till
Good.
I can.
Important.
And
Not your mail key, but your apartment key and your car key.
yeah, my mail key, my mailbox key is in my car because it's
Oh, you
connected to
keep it in
everything.
the car. All right, great. You're
Yeah,
just always ready.
yeah, I'm good. I'm always prepared, as all stage managers are. Um, yeah, I've told them that I'm this is the selfish part of me, that I selfishly want to be the first stage manager back.
Talk
Like,
to Chad
that's what I
about it.
want. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. So first of all, before I keep going, do you know the Instagram handle right off the top of your head? for where you work, so that
Oh,
anybody who
yes.
wants to look?
So the Instagram handle is at Visit Asheville. Check it out. It's super cool. And then our website is exploreasheville.com, which if you're planning a trip to Asheville, you can like check out our website, and like we have a wealth of content about things to do, things that are coming up on the weekend. We also have this really cool hike finder. So like if you're interested in doing a hike, but like you don't want to go super far, or like you don't want it to be very strenuous, you can like put in these little, like you can put in each of the things that you're interested in a hike, and it'll pull up things for you. So if you're planning a trip, you should head to our website because it's a pretty cool place to be when you're planning a visit.
Yeah, sometimes I find I find Asheville to be like Netflix sometimes, which is a really weird like parallel, but it will make sense in a minute. Like, have you ever like been like, okay, I want to watch something on Netflix, but they have so much stuff that you don't know what to do. Like you don't know what you want to watch, and so
Yeah.
you just
Like,
watch
and
the.
like what's fun too is like you'll go and like be like, I have a very specific thing that I want to watch on Netflix, but in order to get there, you've got to scroll through so much stuff, and you're like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh, I want to watch that. Ooh, let's do that. Yeah, I feel that.
And then so what you end up doing is just watching something you know is good instead of trying to find something.
Yes.
Sometimes that's how I feel about Asheville. Like I have a friend coming into town. Like this is hypothetical. I don't have a friend coming into town, COVID. But like I have a friend coming into town and they're like, hey, let's do something. And I'm like, cool. There's 1,000 restaurants here. I'm going to go to the one that I know is good. I'm not going to try anything else. Or like, I can't think of anything else. Or people are like, hey, what is there something to do like downtown? I'm like, see the theater.
Go to
Like
this one place that I know.
there's one place I know. Like go, like I always say go to French Broad Chocolate Factory because you have to.
You have to.
Yeah, but I just like I can't find. Sometimes there's just so much stuff to do in Asheville that this is like a free commercial for Asheville, North Carolina.
It is. Just visit us. Let your spirit run free, guys.
Us. Yeah. It has stuff for everybody. It has stuff who likes the city. Go downtown. Great city, bustling city. Friday night drum circle, like all the good stuff.
It's not happening now, but it's a cool time when it's not COVID.
But it also has all of the stuff that the outdoorsy people want because we're right next to the Blue Ridge Parkway.
It also has the comforts of a small town too. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, like if you want to spend time in the city, go downtown, but you can also go to West Asheville, which is like a lot smaller and like a lot less daunting than downtown can be.
Yeah. And if anybody has ever heard like, oh, Asheville is weird, that's because of West Asheville. Like West Asheville is why it's weird. So
weird. Keep Asheville weird, man.
Keep Asheville weird. Also, if you like beer and like breweries, this is your place to go. So many breweries.
Oh, so many breweries. There are so many breweries that like that we've like talked about and sent journalists to that like I still haven't even been to. Like it's crazy the amount of breweries that are here.
Yeah. So if that's what you're into, definitely come here. So we're done with the free commercial for Asheville. So, well, for a bit. So like you have, first of all, your job sounds amazing. That you get to write and talk about this amazing city that we live in. And you know, it's your 40-hour week job, but how does that work with, like doing theater at night and stuff like that?
It's actually super easy. Because so when I first moved, the theater is like 5 minutes away from my office. So like when I first moved here, I was still living at home while I was trying to like get my footing and kind of find somewhere to live. So like I would literally like leave work, come downtown, go get a cup of coffee before rehearsal, and then go to rehearsal. Like it's so easy. And then now that I'm living in Asheville, so it's literally I'll get off work at 5. I'll go home and check on my sweet little Cooper. And then I'll come back for rehearsal and then just drive the 10 minutes it takes me to get home. I mean, it's super nice. And also I've been very, very fortunate that, you know, since I work with such like a group of people that are like kind of minded towards, you know, creativity and different things like that, like my coworkers are all very, very supportive of me doing theater. Like so when I did Hands on a Hard Body, we did a preview night and Jenny Bunn actually gave tickets to like my entire office. And so like my entire office came to see our friends and family night. And like, you know, my boss brought me flowers and, you know, everyone gave me a hug and told me like what a great job I did afterwards. Like I am very, very fortunate to work with a group of people that are so supportive of like my goals and my hobbies and things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely something we have in common. I can do an entire podcast on my boss, and who knows, I
Yeah.
might one of these days.
I feel that.
And how amazing she is about me and doing theater, which is always really good to know that you have that support system.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
to do it. Yeah, and I guess I did know just how close to the theater your work was, which is nice, because I mean the theater is
I could
7
walk from
minutes
the
from
theater or from my job to the theater, and it would only take me like 15 minutes.
yeah, I mean mine's about a 10-minute drive, and that's just because of traffic on Merriman, which is terrible sometimes. As what happens many times in live theater, things go wrong, and that's kind of what this is, because I always try and do this in one take, but we had some technical difficulties and we had to do it in two. So enjoy the rest of the interview with Audrey Wells. So earlier you were talking about how you were in marching band, both in high school and college. I guess I didn't realize that you were the drum major at UNC as well.
Oh man, that was okay. So my time at UNC. So before I get into this whole thing, I'm gonna get emotional about UNC for a minute because so when I was in high school, I grew up here like in Hendersonville, and like I didn't want to go to Carolina because I was really, really afraid that I was just gonna get lost in like a sea of 28,000 people because you know there were like 200 people in my graduating class, and like Carolina was so big and so far away. Anyway, so I ended up going, obviously, and I think the band is the reason like why I fell in love with Carolina. It's just like it's like theater people in that like they're just such a special group of people that are just like we spend so much time together that like you have to all like you're all friends. Like even if you don't like someone in the band, like you're friends because like you're together all of the time. And so like that was such a really like a very special experience for me. So when the way that Carolina does it is so there are 4 drum majors each year, and he only picks seniors. So the whole process for it is like you go through the entire year. You've got marching band in the fall, you've got a basketball band in the winter, and then in the spring there are drum major auditions. So anyone who's interested in being drum major essentially goes up in front of the entire band and you know conducts whatever. And then they changed it to where people now get to vote, but like when I was drum major it was a little bit of a vote, but it was mostly our band director's decision. So I auditioned when I was a sophomore, just so I could get my name out there and like kind of make sure that like he knew who I was and like knew that I was interested. So I didn't obviously get it because I wasn't going to be a senior. But I did get to be a pet band conductor, which was like good practice for being the drum major, which was a really fun experience. Little fun tangent turkey side story. When in 2016, I was a junior in 2016, which is when UNC won the national championship, which meant that so we had obviously a band that was there at the national championship. I was not in that band. However, we also opened up the Dean Dome, which is where Carolina plays all of their basketball games. And so the Dean Dome was open to the public. So, you know, you had students, you had community members, all filling the Dean Dome, watching the national championship game on this huge screen. And well, actually, so we didn't win the national championship my junior year. We did win my senior year. Mm-hmm. However, so my junior year was when so I got to be the conductor. I was the pet band conductor for the band that was at the Dean Dome. And it was like one of the craziest experiences ever because like
I'm sure
I could I can't like tell you the amount of energy that was in that room. And so like I had like the highest moment of like my college sports fandom in like one moment, and then like 5 seconds later it was like the worst. Okay, so like we're in the Dean Dome, I'm conducting one of our numbers. And like, if you've ever seen me conduct, I get very into it. There are videos of me somewhere being really, really ridiculous about it. Anyway, but so we had just like, it was in the last quarter. Marcus Page was like coming up from behind. We had tied Villanova. We were getting ready to go. And so like Marcus Page made this unbelievable shot, this 3-pointer. And everyone rushed onto the court, freaking out, ready to go, super jazzed. And then the other guy runs across, sinks that 3-pointer, and we lose the game. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna ask. Is where were you during that game? So you're in the Dean Dome during that game?
In the Dean Dome. Everyone had just rushed the court. We were all jumping and screaming because we thought we were going to be able to go to overtime and like it was going to be amazing and like we might win the national championship. It's incredible. And then he sinks that shot. And like in the Dean Dome, you can hear a pin drop. It was insane. And so then the next year when we won, I was also the pit band conductor then. And like I remember like crying. I remember like I realized that we were gonna win, and like one of my friends like had to get up and come hug me because like I was like literally sobbing like that I was gonna leave Carolina having a national championship. And he was like, "Are you okay? You've still got to conduct the fight song. Are you gonna be okay to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, whatever. Everybody, let's go. Come on."
And you were still in the Dean Dome for that one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, so I got to be one of the 4 drum majors my senior year, which it's crazy because like you are on, so the Keenan Memorial Stadium is like a big like dome, and so like you are conducting a 250 person band in front of like all of these people that are like in the football stadium. But like it was a wild ride. I loved my experience. I loved the people that I was drum major with. And I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I would if you're a band nerd and like you enjoy like the thrills of like of sports bands, I would recommend auditioning for a drum major at some point in your life. It's so fun.
I feel like I would have if I was in the band. Like if I wasn't an orc dork, I would have, and I was in the band, I probably would have, and I probably, sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, which is hilarious because we're talking about band, but like I feel like I probably would have gotten it. I just feel like I wonder, like because every time I see a marching, like a drum major, there's a little bit of theatricality to it.
Oh my gosh, there's so much theatrics to it. One of my okay, so we had offensive cheers and defensive cheers. Mm-hmm. And so when we were on offense, there were like limited times where we can play, but I think it was when we were on offense. Anyway, either way. So one of the times we were playing, every time it was third down, we would play, we called it number 12. It was when we were on defense. Okay. So we called it number 12, and it was literally just a bunch of like overtone, long notes, chords that you hold out. And at the end, it goes like dun, 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 with the drums. And then you cut everyone off, and like it's this big last note that's supposed to be really loud and it's supposed to distract the other team so they get a 4th down. Okay. So I am extra. I don't know if you've gathered that about me, but like, no. So the way that our band director would do it is like he would like conduct, and he would just give the notes like this, cut them off, give the notes like this, and then like at the end he would go like this and give the big note. I was like, no. We're in a stadium. People need to see what we're doing. So I would literally like throw my arm to one side and then throw my arm to the other side, and then like I would cut them all off, and then I would do this big like swing my arms up and like go like this, and for the last note and I cut them off. Okay, it's one of my favorite cheers. It's really dumb that it's literally just a bunch of whole notes, but it's so fun. I don't know how to describe it to you. Anyway, so I had conducted that in the first quarter one game, and then this lady who was like in the box, like in the season ticket holder box above us, she literally came down to the band after halftime and like asked one of the band members like what my name was, and then came all the way down to where the drum majors stood and was like, "Hey, which one of you is Audrey?" And then I was like, that's me. My friend Katie like pointed me out and I was like, that's me. And she was like, I just want you to know that my husband and I have thoroughly enjoyed watching you conduct the band during the first quarter. It was my favorite part of the game. And I almost cried because it was so sweet. But yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think I would have just had all the fun that I could have out of that. I'd have been. I probably would have also been extra.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever play any schools that had the show band?
So we played North Carolina A&T. So HBCU schools are really, really well known for doing stuff like that. And so we did a show with them.
I was wondering. I was trying to go back in my memory bank, and I thought I remembered that the Carolina band did like a show with a show band. Was that you? Were you part of that?
That was us. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
I think that was my junior year. Yeah, so when we played North Carolina A&T, we did like really early in the season. Yep. So I think during band camp or like maybe during that week, they were able to come and they taught us like a dance, because that's one thing that's so cool about A&T and like a lot of bands like that. It's like they will literally stop their show and like they just break down into a dance number. Oh, yeah. And it's awesome. Yeah. So it was very funny because like we started the show and then we did a middle number together and then A&T finished the show because they're incredible and like, wow. But anyway, so in this middle number, it was very funny when you watch the video back because you could see how all of us UNC kids did not know what we were doing. And like all of the A&T kids were just like getting down and like, I mean, they knew the dance. I mean, like they had it. And like, I remember being in front of this one A&T person that was like, they had this dance down and I was on the struggle bus because I am not very choreographically gifted or whatever the word is. So anyway, it was, choreographically gifted. There's the word. Anyway, but it was a lot of fun. Yes, we played with show bands. I love watching show bands.
Yeah.
Look if you haven't already.
So I went to my high school didn't have sports, so we didn't have a marching band. And also my college didn't have a marching band because we didn't have football, which is interesting. But yeah. So but at my hometown, there's like one of the best show bands in the state. So E.E. Smith. They're called the Magnificent Marching Machine. They're like really well known, especially in the area. Probably one of the best high school show bands like in the Southeast. They played a football game against a friend of mine who went to a different school in the county called Cape Fear, who was like one of the best, like, I don't know, traditional show bands. Traditional marching band. Like one year, like they won like grand champion multiple times in the year. Yeah. Their drum line won first place in every single one that one year they won every single drum line of every competition they were in. Yeah. I went to that football game and it was the most amazing halftime show. Like, how a lot of times, like in high school football, which by the way, once it's back up and we can go, I think you and I need to go to a high school football game.
Let's go. Let's do it.
But like, how a lot of times in high school football, like halftime hits and like the only people who really stay in the stands are like the parents of the marching band people.
Yes, right? I was a band kid. Yes, I know.
Nobody moved. When this halftime show was coming, nobody moved. Like everybody was waiting for this marching band. This halftime show was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And so it's like the visitors go first, right? The visitors go first.
Yeah.
So E. Smith went out and did their thing. Cape Fear High School was like, I'm getting chills just thinking about this. Cape Fear was waiting to go on. Their drum line was in the front. And as E. Smith was coming off, their drum line stayed and the two drum lines met.
Oh, they did a drum off
on the field,
awesome.
And did a drum off in like a respectful way. It was like one of those things where they were like respectful with each other afterwards. And I think they may have even played like the same cadence at one point. But it was like it was the best halftime show I've ever seen. It was amazing. Like I mean, I love that I'm a bass player and I love like I was in the best orchestra in the county. There's a little part of me that wishes that I was in band so I could have done marching band. Cool. And so let's go. I'm gonna go to our speed round, which are just questions. Which are just questions I'm gonna ask. Just give me your answer. If you want to like go into it a little bit, you can. But I have like 6 questions here. So, what is your favorite? And most of these things it's gonna be like musical answers. But what is your favorite show?
Oh God. The first one that came to mind just now was Chicago, just because another very female-driven, powerful show with a lot of badass women.
Yeah. Also a dream role of mine is in that show, Amos.
Roxy Hart. Yeah. Or Mel McKellen, honestly.
So this is a 2-part answer, or has 2 different answers. Okay. What are your dream roles? One of them being non-realistic, like you just can't do it. Usually it's because like it's a different gender or whatever. Like so, mine is Cole House Walker Jr. That is my all-time like dream role that I can't ever do. And then what is your realistic like dream role? Like one that like you can do it, or like you feel like you can do it.
So right off the top of my head, dream role comes up is Kathy from The Last 5 Years, because like I'm in like the perfect age range, and also that show is just like so incredibly powerful and so many different ways. So Kathy is the one that I want, that's attainable for me. One that's not attainable. I think it would be really fun to be like one of the men from Les Mis, like Marius. I think would be a really, really fun role. Another one that comes to mind is Hairspray is one of my favorite shows. And what is her name? Motormouth Maybelle, because the song "I Know Where I've Been" is so powerful. But I mean, I could never do that, and I would never do it justice. But it's very good roles.
Yep. Nice. Who is your celebrity theater crush?
Oh God.
Either currently or was at one point.
At one point, okay, so for a very, very long time, I had a very big theater crush on both Aaron Tveit and Jeremy Jordan. I don't know if this is a crush as much as it's like admiration. But I really like Sherry Renee Scott, and I also really, really like Lindsay Mendez. So those aren't crushes per se, but like I have a mad respect for like how talented they are.
Yeah, that's how I am about Jeremy Jordan and Jonathan Groff. They just have
Jonathan Groff.
So I'm gonna introduce. I was gonna go off and talk about Hamilton, but I don't want this to be like a 2.5 hour long podcast.
Fair enough.
But I rewatched it last night for the 3rd time. He doesn't blink in that first song.
Oh no, it's insane.
Creepy as heck. Like
no, I know.
Because it's a super close up, and he's looking dead into the camera, and he doesn't blink, and I'm just like, I'm terrified of this man right now.
I'm also just like so amazingly impressed that like he like hit those marks, man. Like he knew where the camera was. Like he knew what he was doing, and like it's amazing to me that he did so much with like so little movement. Mm-hmm. Like he didn't move that much. It was literally, and like he didn't even give that many facial expressions, but like the story that he was able to tell with oh man, he's incredible.
And I love the fact that like he gets, or whoever plays that character is like, gets the highest equity paycheck a week, which I think is, I don't know what it is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much for New York City, but it's like a lot for a weekly paycheck. And he's only on stage for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, but he's some people's favorite characters, and which is like,
I strive to be on stage for 9 minutes and to be like beloved across the entire world.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he wasn't King George on Broadway when they filmed it.
I think I did know that.
It was I can't think of his name now.
Was it Brian Darcy?
No, it was the one before that. It's like the Irish sounding name, O'Reilly or Rory, something like that. Rory somewhere is in that name. I'll have to anyway. But he was one of the brothers in what's Book of Mormon. I almost said what's that Mormon show? Book of Mormon.
Mormon show, good.
And but he stepped down for those 3 days so that Grossos can come back in and do it. Cool. So back to it, theater celebrity theater crush. What is something that you've always wanted to do on stage but you haven't been able to?
Actually do a dance number and or do a fight scene.
That is also my answer. I really want to do a fight scene.
Yeah.
Or like whether it's hand to hand or like a sword fight. That'd be.
I feel like with swords would be really fun.
Yeah. What is your favorite underrated show?
That's a really hard question. Oh god, the first one that came to mind is Dogfight, which is Lindsay Mendez. And it came to mind because she's got this really, really heart-wrenching song called Pretty Funny. I'm not gonna go into it and explain it because I'm not gonna do it, but you should listen to it. Dogfight is my answer.
You're not gonna do it because you would cry.
I wouldn't cry, but I would take too long to explain it, and I wouldn't do as good of a job as just listening to the actual song.
Yeah, I think mine is, at least off the top of my head right now, is Assassins.
Oh, that's a good show. I feel that.
Great show.
Yeah.
It's underrated because I don't think a lot of people like when people think Stephen Sondheim, they're like Into the Woods.
We need Todd.
We need Todd. Assassins is great. It's like a great story. It's just like it shouldn't do well, but it's.
I also
didn't
so realize that it was Sondheim for a very long time.
Yeah. He has his. I have this thing, and I haven't like done the research mainly because I'm not good enough at like music theory to really look into like really do any type of research into this. But I feel like there's like a measure in every song or in every show that's like it's like Sondheim. It's like oh, you can hear this one measure, two measure like run in like every Sondheim show. And I can't ever think of it until I hear it in a show. I'm like, oh,
you're like, oh, there it is.
Like last night when I was watching Hamilton, it was the first time I heard a little riff that Washington does in Teach Them How to Say Goodbye. That is a total Jonathan Larson riff.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just like I can't do it, but it's like because
it's the one at the end.
Yeah, it's not the very end. It's towards the end, but it's not his last one. But he just does this little riff that I'm like, oh, that's a Jonathan Larson riff. And Lin-Manuel Miranda is a big Jonathan Larson fan. And so I was like, oh, there it was. There it is.
That's also something that's very impressive to me is like the amount of other musicals that Lin-Manuel managed to like put into or like make reference to in Hamilton. Like there are some that I'm still just now picking up on.
Yeah. And same thing with like, and I don't know hip hop and rap enough to like be able to pick all these out, but like all the little things that he does to like that he does for other rappers too.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! Yeah, and like nods to different like styles of hip hop. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I may have to do a whole podcast on Hamilton and just like get a bunch of people on and just. I was thinking like one way like just having a bunch of people watch it. Like at the same time, just like pause it at certain points and be like, da, 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 da. And it really would be like a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, it would be very long.
It's so good. Anyway, that's for another podcast episode. So before I wrap this up, I'm gonna ask you the same question that I ask everybody. Okay. And it's simple. It's why theater?
Oh man, don't make me cry. You're right here at the end.
It's okay if you cry. We're all friends here. It's okay.
I think that so when I was talking about the beginning of my journey, like back, not the beginning, but like sort of the beginning of my journey back in Charlotte. So when I was living in Charlotte, I didn't have a really big network of people. I wasn't really like enjoying the job that I had at the time. And so I was in a really, really rough place. And theater was able to kind of not only provide me with a network of people, but it also just kind of, gave me an escape from the things that were going on in my life. And like, I feel that like, no matter what no matter what I'm going through in my life, if I'm happy, sad, mad, whatever, I always have theater, if that makes sense. And like, I have been so fortunate to like, to be involved with a lot of really great shows. And I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of really great people. So like, on top of having theater as an outlet for myself it's also allowed me to build this incredible network of people that like I wouldn't trade for anything. And I think that that's just the power of theater and the power of the people who are involved with it.
That was beautifully put.
Thanks. I didn't cry. Aren't you proud of me?
I am very proud of you. Proud that you didn't get verklempt. Verklempt. Yeah. It's the question I ask everybody, and it's probably my favorite question because it's so many different answers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially I think one thing that we all are realizing is our answer to that question right now. Like I think most of us have an answer. I feel like everybody has an answer to that, but they have to think about it. But I think, over the last 4 months, especially since, you were in the middle of a show, you were in performances. I was 2 weeks out from Tech Week. Dylan, same show. He was 2 weeks out from Tech Week, and he had his summer planned out, and so gigged out, and so did I. So like we've had nothing but time to really think of why theater is
and why it's important.
It's so important to us.
Support the arts, people.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And check on your theater friends and make sure that they're doing okay.
Absolutely. Well, Audrey, this has been so fun. I'm glad that I could get you on the podcast. And if I do the Hamilton episode, I will be reaching out because I'm sure
I've got lots of hot takes.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe I can have. This is crazy that I'm thinking of it. Maybe I can have like another podcast where it's just people watching musical theater and
oh man, I would love
putting our own opinions in it. Because usually I joke, oh yeah, I have plenty of time. But now I do it. Like I have plenty of time. So.
Oh yeah. I literally work and run now. That's about it. That's about what I do.
Yeah, you have a triathlon coming up, right?
On Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is the episode that's coming out before it. So yeah. So
nice. It'll be my first triathlon ever. So wish me luck, everyone.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's not one of those where hundreds of people can be at the finish line as you cross. But,
no,
I wish I could. If I would be there,
spots where people can be.
I would be there if we were allowed. But good luck on that. Thanks. Please do not break a leg. That'd be.
Yeah, no, I'm actually not going to do that.
But thanks so much for coming on. And I need to get over to the new house. I need to see you, Cooper, and Dylan in that order.
Oh yeah.
So
you're welcome anytime.
And Nicole, of course. For those listening, thanks for coming on and listening to me and Audrey just sit and chat. We hadn't talked for a while. Get this episode and all other episodes anywhere, almost anywhere that you can get podcasts. Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. Just look up Stand By Go, and you can also watch the video on YouTube. So until next time.